How's it been
So
on your end?
things are good. Um, yeah, things are good. We're gonna get our license this week for sure. I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna start lobbying if they don't give us our license, but should happen within this week. That means we can set dates finally, within this week, which is great. We are doing a lot of recipe testing. It's still sort of back on the drawing board for us. The chicken's really good. A couple of our flavors are definitely popular. But I would say some of the other kimbap options need a little bit of work. Like realistically, like it's a tough, it's a difficult industry to be in. Like the restaurant industry is tough, and assuming that your food just has to be really, really good all the time. Like I think the baseline has to be that it's really, really good, and like I
Hmm.
think our food is good, but it's not like really, really good yet for the kimbap especially. So we're just spending some more time doing some testing, and like even today, I made like five or six different varieties, and then I realized we were probably over we were not testing in the right way, where we just tried to do too much, and then what we were testing for sort of got lost in the picture. And so I think we're going to do a little bit more of a systematic testing as we go, so that kimbap at least will be better. The chicken is in a good spot, but we just want it to be the best that it can be before the actual pre-order. So that's where pretty much all of our focus is right now. There are some st thoughts still around kind of branding and the direction in which we go. I think a lot of the things that give me heartburn now is just about like what direction we want to take in terms of like how do we plan for the summer, just because time is ticking. Like it's already the summer, right? It's June 10th. And so next week is going to be middle of June. Before you know it, it's going to be July 4th weekend. Before you know it, it's August and then September and then summer's over. So in order for us to make the best use of this time, I think there's some decisions around, like do we hire somebody to help us in the kitchen? Like, and when does that happen, and how does that look? And even before we get to that, is like how often do we sell? What does our capacity look like? So, like, can we actually sell 100 rolls a day? Do we need to go? Is that too easy? Like, can we bump up that to 200? At what point does our quality start to decrease? And like, where is our bottleneck? Like, there's thoughts around that, which is like more operational based, which honestly we just have to get in the kitchen and figure out. So that's okay. But then there's also the thought of like who do we do pop-ups with? Who do we talk to? Like who do we do collaborations with? Um, and like do we want to go the kind of the cool, like hip, like pop-up-y style and that kind of direction where we say, hey, like we were sort of that cool and hipster and like, we think our flavors are kind of cool, or do we go more like classic, like, we know this isn't like anything crazy, crazy tasty, but we're gonna make it super accessible. We're gonna invest a lot of dollars into making it, maybe even go retail and just figure out how do we get into grocery stores. Like I just don't know what the right answer is there.
Hmm.
I think one of the nice things about our kimbap is that because the rice is actually clumped up together, the texture, even when it gets cold, is actually not as bad as like regular kimbap, which if it gets cold, the rice gets hard because it dries out. But yeah, so there's a lot of thinking around the direction in which we want to go. And that's honestly where a lot of that thought has been for me. Honestly, like testing wise, it's just what we like to call the grind. You just do it. You make time and you try 15 different ways of the same thing and see which one tastes the best. But I think the direction and like what we call strategy, I guess, I think that's a little bit more unclear because I'm just not sure what our like actual advantages, like what are we good at, and like what can we be good at, and like where's the potential.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it does sound like I thought that founder might have. I mean, there's like operations that you mentioned, branding, marketing, and then also just quality of the product. So a bunch of everything of that. So
Yeah, it's weird. It's all one big lump in my mind.
hmm.
Like in business, we always, even in consulting work, you focus on one thing, you fix one thing. But I guess this is when you try to start something, everything matters and everything's in your head, and you have to learn to sort of load balance what is actually most important, because there is always something that is most important for us
Hmm.
right now, that is the food. And then after that, it's going to be operations. And then after that, it's going to be about media and outreach and branding and stuff like that. Probably in that order, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah, then let's touch upon that briefly, like every section one by one. Like first of all, like you talked about. testing your food right now. Well, any differences between kind of the systematic way of testing your food from before and now?
Yeah, I think we have six rolls right now.
Mm,
Today I try to do all six essentially using half rolls, and what ended up happening was we were debating if we want to add cucumbers in or not.
mm,
And we also are debating if we want to put fish cake in or not.
mm.
There's a world in which we think about like, do we need to think even more outside the box? And so Jimmy and Jimmy's girlfriend Juria was talking about maybe you add in like maybe like apples because it gives you a crunch and it gives you a little bit of sweetness, maybe to the tuna or maybe to the beef. And apples actually go really well with beef, I think. Or there's some sort of flavor profile.
Pear with beef.
Pear with beef also works, but pear's a little bit expensive and
Expensive.
hard to source.
Mm,
But like that's maybe there's a world in which you start thinking a little bit outside the box.
mhm.
But I think for now we just need to decide if we want to do cucumbers because it's there's two things. I've been getting a little bit of feedback from cooks, like and chefs that actually cook in the kitchen, and one of the comments has just been it needs more green because all of our colors right now, especially for some of the ones that don't have like a bright green or a bright red in there, is all sort of the same orange and brown hue. So adding something green does bring it to life quite a bit visually. Um, Taste wise, it obviously cucumber is it does have a pretty distinct flavor, and so people really like it, or people really don't like it usually, or I mean, I guess some people don't care, but and so I think what we're testing for is does it actually help with the crunch? Like it helps add texture. It also helps add a lot of freshness and a lot of moisture because cucumbers has a lot of moisture. And so I think what we're going to start doing is we're going to test one roll at a time. I
Mm.
think, sorry, that was a long-winded way to just say that. What we've changed about the testing is I think this week, and everything's going to happen this week because we are going to start to sell hopefully within the next couple weeks. But it's going to be for one roll, like we try five or six different iterations. So like maybe we do one with cucumber, maybe we do one with cucumber and fish cake, maybe we do one with just fish cake,
Mm,
and what we're gonna do is we're gonna do blind tests with some people.
mm.
It's probably not gonna be me and Jimmy, although we're gonna be included, just because it's hard for us to be objective anymore. Um, and so I think we're gonna be blinding, like not like it's not gonna be like completely blindfolded or whatever, but like we'll probably just have them like close their eyes and just like pick one and just eat it. Um, And so that way we get an idea of does it actually taste better? Because what we realized today is if you try all these different things at once, everything just tastes different and marginal. Like some of it just tastes marginal, some of it tastes different. Like oh, you can't tell which is which. And so I think like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is 5 days. We're going to do all 5 days. We're going to test each roll and probably do one maybe later next week. And just see like, do we want to actually put cucumber in and do we want to put fish cake in? And does it actually make a difference?
Mm. Well, cool.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe we'll try adding an apple. Maybe we'll try adding in some like different greens of some sort.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, do you at this current stage of the journey, does it feel like the focus of the taste is it geared towards more like original Koreans, or are we kind of thinking more towards what the mass public would be appealed to?
I think it has to be catered towards Asian Americans that know what kimbap is.
Mm,
I think realistically, as much as I would love to serve the entire demographic of people, if you don't know what kimbap is, you're not gonna go searching for it, nor are you gonna be like, oh, that looks because to them it's gonna look exactly like a sushi roll. It actually looks very similar to like the futomaki or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's that's fine. Like I think that the flavors, once you actually have it, the flavors is actually pretty similar to what you get in Korea, especially the tuna ones and like the classic flavors that people are used to. And so it has to be Asian Americans. Also, the people that usually respond and look on social media at this point are usually Korean Americans, Chinese Americans, whatever, Eastern Asians, or not even Eastern Asians, just Asians in general. And so I think it has to be that particular group. I don't really imagine that it's going to serve a wider demographic of people just yet.
Mm, mm. And I remember from our last call, you had planned a meeting with a new designer, just in the
Yeah.
talks of things and see how that would work. Any updates on that?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, she was great. She showed us some of her work, and then we were just like, here's what we're trying to do. She seems to have a very similar background of sort of growing up in different countries with still being Korean. I think realistically, though, we're not trying to do like a big rebrand until we get a brick and mortar, just so
Okay.
that we can sort of match it together.
Hmm.
We probably still, I still, for me, I still really want like an icon, like with a logo. We just haven't really put that much focus on that, but
Hmm.
and then obviously that costs money to do a big rebrand, and it's gonna take a lot of time to do a whole rebrand because it's not just about the logo and the images or whatever. It's like there's a lot that goes on with the branding itself. And so we're likely not going to pursue anything there in specific, but it was great to meet her in general and just sort of get a sense of like, here's how
Hmm.
that process would work. So we got the lay of the land about like how long it would take, like here's what would go on in that time. And um, so it's really helpful to know. I think we're not going to really do much with it right now. Um, but yeah, it's really good. I think things like that are really just good for us to have so that when we are ready, we have somebody that we can be like, hey, I think we're trying to do this. Like what kind of ideas would you have for us?
Hmm. Was there anything that was new to you during that conversation? Was it mostly something that you already knew about
No,
branding?
I mean the branding process, I didn't realize how long it took. But she was basically saying like she usually takes the time to you have to like get to know the person on a deeper level and get to know their story, get to know what they are representing, get to know what they want to represent through their store and like it's I guess what they call like a discovery phase, right? So I
Hmm.
guess it's kind of like a startup, but like it's the discovery phase of like who are you? What are you trying to do? What kind of story are you trying to tell? And then how do you make that story come to life through visuals, right? And like how do you make it so that when people look at the brand, they're like, I know exactly what you're trying to represent and I know what you're trying to get at.
Hmm.
And like have that tie. And so, you go through that phase at the beginning, you go through, multiple concepts, right? So they probably come up with multiple concepts. I didn't realize there was like a typographer. So like there's
Yeah.
somebody who works on just fonts and I had no idea. And like they work closely with the brand designer, but I was like, I
Wow.
didn't know that was a thing. I was like, oh, I thought you did it all yourself. No, there's people that are experts in, I guess, typography and looking at that.
Hmm.
And so she told us about that, and then like from start to finish, it takes a few months. If you really push it fast, you could do a little bit quicker. It's just like things like that. I
Hmm.
just have no idea.
Hmm. And usually, just out of like business perspective, did she also talk about compensation structure and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is expensive.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, no, even in the grand scheme of things, I think it's pretty expensive.
Hmm.
It's a pretty significant chunk of the cost, but I will say it's probably for a good reason, right? Like the
Hmm.
amount of attention and time and the fact that you get somebody that's very qualified to do it, and you want to be able to accurately tell your story because, like in my mind, I have an idea of like who I am and what I'm trying to do,
Hmm.
but it's hard to be objective, right? So it's hard for me to be like, oh, I think I look like this and I represent this. Let me try to draw it and then try to like show it to the world.
Hmm.
So it's always nice to have somebody else that sees you from how everybody else sees you
Hmm.
and helps you. And that's actually what she said too, of like it's hard to do your own thing because it's hard to be objective to yourself.
Hmm.
And so I guess I am assuming it is worth the cost.
Hmm.
We will see later because
Yeah.
we're probably going to end up doing it if we do a brick and mortar. So
Right. I mean, no need for the numbers, but is it mostly like a one-time payment? Is it like a
yeah,
monthly
usually,
payment?
and I'm assuming this is different by agents. Like if you go to an agency, then
Mm.
obviously it can be in like the tens of thousands of dollars. I think if you are going to like somebody that's a freelancer, I think it will cost you less than that, but I think
Hmm.
it's still a pretty significant chunk. And then depending on their level of experience, I'm assuming, and depending on the level of work and the things that you are asking from them,
Mm.
things like menu design, t-shirt design, like merch
Oh,
design,
uh-huh.
like graphic design. Like it's all like if you try to get the whole package, then obviously it's going to cost more.
Right.
You do like sort of like the a la carte, like you just do one thing at a time, it's going to cost
Hmm.
you less. But usually they actually don't recommend you do that unless
Mm.
like unless you plan to do a rebrand with the same person later. Like it's not really.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know why she said it like that, but I just don't know enough
Mm.
to to understand. But if you try to just do a logo, right, which is ideally what we probably would have done, then
Hmm.
like I'm sure it'll be cheaper.
Mm. Interesting. Wow. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
And now that I think about it, I guess it's because of the whole branding like thing has to tie together. It's also it'd be hard to just to do a logo while trying to get to like know the people and like trying to do the whole discovery thing just for one logo.
Exactly, yeah. And they're probably reaching for that too, to, start off with one product, service, and then
Yeah.
we know you already. So,
I mean, which is honestly easier for us too, right? Unless
yeah.
unless
Hmm.
something goes really, really wrong, which I don't know. I guess it's one of those things you just have to try it, and then if it fails, you just find someone else.
Hmm. Very cool. At least I think in a business perspective, probably you and Jimmy talked about it, and then best for now not to, allocate money for now.
Actually, yeah, this is a funny one, and this I guess goes into the idea of branding. So we'll skip operations for just a little bit, but uh, basically the mentor people that I know in the industry, they place a lot of focus on branding, a lot of
Mm.
focus on branding, and it's not just about marketing, but just like just purely on branding. Like you need to have a good, memorable brand so that people recognize you for who you are. And so they're like, you should invest in branding early on because people will associate you with that brand. Um, so I was always like I was a little thrown off, because I'm like, yeah, I don't really know if it's worth us for us to invest that much amount of money on branding so far. So I was like shaking a little bit, and I was like, I was talking to Jimmy and the rest of the team, and I think what ended up happening is I think we're going to sort of stick to our guns of the entire point of what we're doing right now is getting what we like to call proof of concept. Right, because the thing is, if we invest too much into branding now or marketing, and then we realize that our product isn't where we want to do, it's not where we want to go, and maybe we want to switch a little bit, and then now we can't because our branding is sort of locked into where we're going. I think we don't want to do that, and so I think the point for us is branding is for sure important, but we just need also we chat GPT'd it, so like this is chat GPT is a good tool, but we need just a minimum lovable brand or something like that. It's like the minimum viable product, but like minimum lovable brand. And so you just need the bare minimum to make it memorable, to make it concrete, to make it look like a real thing. But then to invest any more into that, I think is not worth it for us right now. And so once I read that, I was like, oh, it makes sense. And then it was basically saying the same thing. So like, just focus on your product, make sure you are consistent, make sure you can actually make sure your food tastes good, right? You need to focus on those things first to make sure that there's actual demand. And then what you can do later with marketing branding is you can focus and you can expand on that signal instead of trying to drive a signal where there may be none. That was very consulting speak. That's what ChatGPT told us. And so that's what I'm saying back to you. Uh,
Sounds good. No, it makes a lot of sense. And also it's different for each like business.
Yeah, and I think it's just like a timing thing, right? Like I'm sure if we were doing very well and we were selling consistently and like we had week over week sales and we were looking to grow, then I think there's some levers that we pull to make sure that we can keep on growing. But as of right now, like our product's not even close to being finalized. So like what are we exactly trying to brand? It's more like how do we brand ourselves to make sure that we initially get people to try it, and then we just hope the food is good enough and people really like it.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I think it's really important to have a philosophy, of your own and just, keep with that. And of course, make iterations of it along the way, but I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially with so much info out there, it's like
Yeah.
if you consume all, it's like, oh, you're gonna change your philosophy like every day.
Yeah. That's sort of what I feel like I've been doing recently. So I'm a little bit, yeah, it's tough because like you don't know what's right. Nobody knows what's right, right?
Yeah.
And so you assume you just pick one and you just go with it, but then you keep all hearing all this noise and so you. But now you're right. I think you just sort of stick to your guns and just go.
Yeah. And I think it really does come with experience. Like I recently was talking with this guy who worked at Coupang with the CEO. And like he told me like, oh, the guy, like Bom Kim, the CEO, apparently his greatest strength was being able to recognize what a signal is and what it is a noise. So
Mhm.
being able to differentiate what is noise and signal. And
Mhm.
that guy was really good at just in any situation or any process or problem, he goes into, he's able to just quickly recognize what's a signal to like move on with or go in deeper into and what the noise is and just be able to do
Yeah.
that right in front of it. And that comes with just practice, apparently, just constant practice of like tens of years of experience of just doing that and knowing the product in and out, the process in and out.
Yeah.
And apparently he was really detail oriented. He literally just tracked the shipment in the warehouses like from start to finish.
Yeah.
And he just knew everything better than anyone else. And yeah, well, I guess you're just kind of in the start of that phase of making a process of your own, understanding the bit by bit, and maybe after those practices accumulate, you'll be
Yeah.
able to differentiate them.
Yeah, no, I mean it's the same thing at Bain too. I mean, some of the really senior partners that are, very, very far along in their careers, and some of them who I respect a lot and admire, I think it's a very similar story where like in a conversation with very, very smart people in the room, they really pinpoint what's important, right? And then they say this is what's important. Everything else is details. The details are important, but they're not as important as this, so we don't focus on that.
Hmm.
And so sometimes I think that, you hear that and you're like, well, I didn't know that. Everything else sounded real important because it came from people that sounded like they knew what they're doing. But the senior partners sort of just, they see right through that and then they're like, here's what my experience tells me is important and here's what's worked in the past. Here's what we're gonna do. And I think it's a very similar story, right? That's probably what CEOs are trying to do, right? It's like figure out what's actually important and then make sure you execute perfectly on those.
Hmm. Yeah. And yeah, it's just a starting point for you to getting to know
Yeah, I
that.
like I sound like this, but like in reality, like I sometimes, Paul, I sit here and I'm like, wow, I don't know if I can do it. So, but you just keep going, right?
Well,
I'm gonna,
one thing I did hear was really interesting, and I think I remember at the beginning stages of when you were ideating this, jump and change in career in your life. You talked about, Chicago with the food scene and Korean food trend and things like that. One interesting fact that I heard, especially when I went to the conference in Palo Alto, was that I met this guy and he was just talking about how. There's a huge focus in actually food, beauty products, especially from Korea, and kind of flowing through the States right now. And they're actually looking for investments in areas like that.
yeah.
And apparently, I don't know, you should do a search on this. Apparently, there's like a accelerator for food
Hmm.
in Stanford. Did you
Yeah,
know?
I don't know about the one in Stanford, but
Yeah.
I've heard of a few.
Yeah, so I thought that was super cool. Like I've heard of accelerators for tech companies and like tech stars, but like just for food,
Yeah.
I guess it does say something about just the rise of demand, maybe, or people's product or consuming trends, I guess.
Yeah, also if you think about it from an investment perspective, realistically it's I mean first off, it's very difficult to succeed at scale with a restaurant and a chain in
Mm,
particular,
yeah.
I guess every industry is starting to succeed at that level. But there's really only one exit op really. I guess there's two, but like to exit, and this is what every big chain is going through if you're in the food and beverage space is, think if you think about Crumble, if you think about like oh, I don't know, like a Fogo de Chao, right? Or like, as any of these chains is you either go public, right? So you have to
Mm,
go really, really big and go public, or you get bought by like a private equity fund
yeah.
or a company that like Darden that rolls up a bunch of these and like just operationalizes the crap out of them. There's not that many ways to really exit. And so the exit opportunity is very clear. And so the investment that you get and the return, I'm assuming, is very, very clear as well. And I think people are really seeing that. Bain Capital especially invests a lot in the food and beverage. I think there's like a
Wow.
private equity players that invests a lot of money into food and beverage, and like they're worth billions. I mean, they pay high top dollar for the ones that perform well.
Mm,
But to get there is a different story.
yeah. No, yeah, for me, I think it was just really fascinating that they were willing to invest. Well, number one, I don't know the specific statistics on what the chances of succeeding in this restaurant or food industry is, but I've heard that it was very difficult. But the fact that there's still investors out there who are interested in especially like these early stage investors looking into opportunities and businesses like that. Although it's still pretty risky. Yeah.
I think also in order to grow at scale, you do need a lot of investments. So like it's sort of like when where there's demand, there's supply.
Hmm.
There's one in Chicago that just opened up called Soul Spice. I think they have 8 locations so far, but I'm pretty sure they paired up with some sort of investment fund to get financing.
Mm.
And so it happens all the time because like realistically to open up a store, they're on Michigan Avenue. To like open up a store on Michigan Avenue is going to
Mm.
cost you some pretty top dollar, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, I thought yeah, I just kind of thought of what you said early on with the food trend of Korean food,
Yeah.
especially kind of flowing to the States as well. So
And now's the time. But it would have been nice if I caught this when I was actually selling, right? Like you always think that these major brands that you've never like the major brands that you have heard of, realistically, they started decades before you actually heard of them. And so it just takes a long time to build a really good brand. So
mm,
hopefully we'll catch the wave. We'll get better as we go and just I think as long as we try to continually just make ourselves better and just keep trying and just don't quit, I think we'll be okay.
yeah. Also, let's talk about the most recent update, Upload, with the new style of video this time.
Yeah, so one thing is we know that our sort of the hook of like I quit my MBB consulting job, we know it works to a certain degree, right? Like to at our scale, right? It works at our scale, which is great, and I think we're going to continue to use it. The only issue is that realistically, right now we're not actually moving forward very much because we're waiting for this license. And so
Mm.
once we get this license, we have a lot of content we want to film. We have a lot of things that we're going to do with the shared kitchen. We have a lot of things that's going to happen. Until that time, though, we still want to post something because we still want to be really consistent. We have a friend named, we have actually Matt's on the team with us too, but Matt is actually he's not a professional, I guess, because it's not his full-time thing, but like he's pretty much like a close to a professional photographer and videographer. His genre is not really short form videos. It's more like what you saw, right? Sort of like an actual advertisement, like sort of, more, I would say not like social media-y, but more like professional grade kind of sort of well put together. And so I basically asked him early on to take photographs for us for our food, and then I was just like, if you want to, join the team and help us make videos too, like maybe some more of your style. I mean, that'd be great too. And so he made that one, and we've posted that one. Which has generated definitely kind of like a different reaction from people, which is exactly what we had intended, where like it's not
Mhm.
really about the views for us for this one. It's really about here's what we are capable of and like here's the different level of production output that we think we can do.
Mhm.
And so that's like just a completely different style. I think the next couple videos are going to be very different as well. It's going to be more
Ooh.
meme style, like a little bit more cringe, but like it's just more fun content for us to post, I think. And even now, I think at this point, and I'm sure it will be like this in the future. I think we're not too caught up on the numbers. I think it's just more about like what can we try and just what works. Like now that we know this hook of the MBB consulting job thing, it works. We will do that again once the time comes for us to upload those kinds of videos. But in between those, I mean, I think we're just open to trying new things. And um, I always I shouldn't do this, but like I keep looking at other profiles and like they keep a very consistent theme of like here's what's happening. Um, but usually those people have started posting after they've actually started like that. Either they bought a location or they have a location or like they have something that they're actually, building out. I think for us, we are in the earlier stages of building it out. So
Mhm.
it's not, I guess it's still exciting, but like it's not quite as exciting, I think, to see us just like we posted a day in the life. Like I think it'd be that times four. And then I guess in the off days, like I nap for like 4 hours on one of those days. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not as exciting for the story, I think.
Mhm. But yeah, no, I thought it was really fun to just see some familiar faces also personally, but also some storytelling component to it. Also, I thought it was really interesting because I remember someone saying that like sometimes the well, users or customers actually don't know what they want, but if you're able to show them
Mhm.
ahead of time that like, hey, like this is what you might want, or kind of show them, oh, this is what uh, visualize that like, oh, in the future, this is what would happen when you get that kimbap. And I
Mm.
felt like that was that video where, oh, like I know I haven't ordered just yet. They're taking pre-orders and things like that. But when I get the kimbap, I could see myself go to a pickleball court or
Yeah.
go at a picnic and just kind of visualize, oh, this is the type of food I would get in those kind of situations and these kind of atmosphere. And I thought, yeah, with those actors there kind of doing that, kind of led the audience to see, oh, like I guess this is how like Koreans eat their food, this type of food in this kind of situations,
Yeah.
and also the background is familiar, right? It's not Seoul, it's Chicago,
Yeah.
so I thought that was
Yeah.
very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. I will make sure to let Matt know. He basically took, start to finish for this one. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it'll be good. I think the next couple videos should also be pretty fun. So,
Mm,
I
mm.
think they're very cringe because I'm looking at myself, but like at a certain point, it's just about that. I was just posting and we'll.
Any people recognize you on the streets or things like that? I
Uh,
mean, some people said you they recognized you in the restaurant, but
yeah.
anyone in the streets yet?
No, none of the streets, but I will say apparently people like I'm known as the kimbap guy. So like people say their friends told them about the kimbap guy and they were like, "Oh, I know
Oh,
the kimbap guy." So the
hey.
first video did very well. I think it reached the right demographics. It reached a lot of the people at our age.
Hmm.
So the word definitely spread. Um, if we can continue to make this story very interesting and like just keep going and posting content and start selling, I think it'll continue to do well.
I think you should get a t-shirt, just says the Kimbap guy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. And just
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
wear that to work.
Yeah, me and Jimmy have been talking about this. Where Jimmy's like, we don't really need shirts yet because we don't, we're not doing anything. But I was like, I really want a shirt and a hat.
I
Um,
think you should. Because there's
yeah,
actually a thing, especially like when you go to these like startup places, a bunch of people are just wearing like huge, like they have QR codes on their t-shirt. It's not supposed to look good.
yeah,
It's literally
it's just
just
like,
to stand
yeah,
out.
yeah,
Just so that like I think one guy had like a QR code on the back of his t-shirt so that whenever he's lining up to get coffee, people
yeah,
are just lining up. They'll be like, "Oh, what's this?" And then they'll scan it, and then they know like,
yeah,
"Oh, this is a cool product," or
yeah,
they'll ask about what the QR code is. So
yeah. That's smart.
if you're if you have the balls to do it, maybe you just have the Kimbap guy in the back of the shirt, and it doesn't
Yeah,
have to be
maybe
at
I'll
the
just
front.
post the front, like the thumbnail of the video in the back. See, I don't think I have the balls to do that. But as much as I like the attention, I would rather people just buy our kimbap instead.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to do that in your position.
We might set up the wrong kind of image for our. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a smart. I mean, we will do we will do merch at some point. Also,
Mm,
I really like merch. Like merch is like my thing. Like branding is my thing, and so not that I'm good at it. I just really like it, and
mm,
so
mm. No, no, sounds super exciting, and hope the license comes out soon so that we could start seeing people yeah, no, taste the food. I think that's also when you have more fun with like getting actual feedback from people
Mhm.
you've never met before, and also see if people are willing to pay the price, and that's huge. Pricing is huge as well. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we agree. Well, yeah, we'll just go at it. Yeah, I think yeah, it's always goes back to just like just do it. I'm still yeah. I don't really know what else to because I'm just going through the same stuff of like I think our food's good. Like the reaction is that the food is good. The chicken is really good. Like the reaction of the chicken is exactly what I'd imagine people would be saying if they really tried it and really liked it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. I think I don't know if I said the last, but I'm like I realize now, probably not yet, but like I get the sense of why people choose not to do this and instead stay at a corporate job because I was like, sometimes I don't miss it, but like sometimes the routine is nice because on the weekends at least you're like, oh, like I'm gonna go out and have fun with my friends and like there's no repercussions and I can sleep all day. But
Mm.
like, well, if I sleep all day, nothing happens and then nothing gets moved forward, right? Jimmy obviously does stuff, but like, it's still, you really have to stay disciplined and that I think that is what's hard.
Mm. Mm. And yeah, I guess really finding balance, but at the same time, performing at your peak, efficiency as well, and trying to find that uh, between all the grueling hours you're putting in at the restaurant. So
Yeah, yeah. But it's not so bad. I mean, once you get used to it, everybody's job is hard and everything you do in life is hard. So just gotta
mm,
find what I guess what you want to do.
and is it now 2 months in? Are you
It
or
is 2.5 months in. Well, it'll be 3 months in about 2 weeks.
wow, wow. Well, you should pat yourself on the back for that. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, I think once we do like, I don't know, like $10,000 in sales or something, like I'll be I'll be happy.
Yeah, well, we'll look forward to that. That will happen. So
And then I'm sure I'll say it, and once we hit 10,000, then I'll be like, oh, let's do 100,000. Then a
that's the
million.
mindset. That's the mindset.
I think a million is the goal.
Yeah, I mean, when you start things like this, you should have a big goal then.
Yeah. I
Big
mean,
goal.
realistically, the biggest goal would be in 30 years. I could have my own holding company, and then we'd own a bunch of Asian, concepts.
Mm, mm, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, but we got to do baby steps.
Yeah, and I mean, the people who take those baby steps knows the ins and outs, are
Yeah,
able to make more informed decisions when it's really important. So,
yeah.
good for you for
Thanks, Paul.
taking the long path because nowadays we're all surrounded by what's, the shortcut, and I feel a lot of content out there is about like, oh, how to make money fast, but in reality, that's not the case for most of the, things out there. It really takes time to master those skills and yeah, I guess you know better than me being part of Bain to see that like, oh, these people who are at these levels, it doesn't come from overnight, just like groundwork. It's really many years of just talking, networking, being exposed to these trends and
Yeah,
insights. So,
it's the exact same. Yeah.
well, good luck. Always rooting for you from
Thank you.
far away. And hopefully I'll be in Chicago soon.
Can you stop? When are you actually coming to Chicago? This is the most like, oh, man, this I don't like it, and it's not my thing.
Oh, well, I'll check with my secretary.
I like that. Okay. All right. That sounds good, Paul.
All right, all right, all right. Have a good week, and I'll see you next week.
See ya.